What is up, guys? My name is Keggernaut, but just call me Kegg. And it's been about a week since Emerald Nightmare was released. So I kind of want to talk about my thoughts of the instance as a whole. I want to talk about the bosses inside. I also want to talk about some tank stuff and also some just general guild progression. So the instance as a whole looks kind of spot on with the kind of theme that they were going for. Everything is corrupted, the Emerald Nightmare, everything is bad, blah, 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 you know. And it's kind of spot on, but I think they missed the mark in a couple of the areas. So what I mean is the Emerald Nightmare, everything is red, everything is black. There's nothing else in the instance. Everything is red and everything is black. So the only difference is that there's a lot of like green stuff from the bosses. So Nithendra that you're looking at right now, there's a lot of green pools everywhere. And then on Cenarius, there's some green pools also that you can cleanse your stacks of, whatever it is, some poison thing. And on the spider boss, there's also some green pools. And really, that's the only little flavor that they have to all of the instances. Not the instances, all the bosses. And besides the Nithendra room, Nithendra looks really nice. Although, one thing I guess I'll say is that I didn't even notice in this phase here, I didn't even notice at first when I started pulling Nithendra that there was even these little tiny bugs on the floor. I didn't notice them when I first started pulling them. And that's just weird to me, I guess. I just thought that she spawned these large bugs and they started spewing out acid or whatnot, and that was it. But just a little environmental detail, it goes a long way. I guess everything is festering and nasty and just ew. But the whole instance outside of this room looks very dull and washed out, grayish. Like everything's red and black, but everything also feels just bad. Like I actually checked my monitor display settings because I thought that if I were to change those, it would look a lot better. But I never had to change them. And well, I changed them when I first got the monitor, but that's a different thing. It just looks ugly to me. And I think that I really wish that they would have done something to improve that, because it just looks ugly. Like, I don't know. It's just my opinion. A lot of other people might think it's fine. I think they could have done a little bit better job. But this raid, if you guys didn't know already, you gotta fight the Nithendra first. She gives you access to the rest of the bosses, but then you can go and pick between Ursoc, Dragons of Nightmare, the Spider Boss, and Heart of Keggernaut. You could choose which ones to do, and then after you're done with those four, you gotta fight Cenarius, and then you're gonna go fight Xavius, the last boss. I like that they did that, and it reminds me a lot about a lot of Firelands. This has a very strong druid nature type of theme. The Emerald Nightmare is being corrupted. Firelands, Hyjal was being corrupted by fire or whatever. And then there's Cenarius, there's Malfurion, there's big bad guy, with little tiny feet. And I appreciate that. I liked Firelands and I like Emerald Nightmare. And the bosses in Emerald Nightmare, they are quite interesting. I liked Nithendra's mechanics. It was actually like the first proper dragon that I've ever tanked. Like what I said before, I started playing in Cataclysm when Firelands came out, and there was never a proper dragon fight. I've never had to fight something like Nefarian. I'd never had to fight something like Onyxia, except when I go and try and farm them for mounts or whatnot. Like, I never actually had a group setting. And I didn't notice like a tail swipe because nobody was probably standing behind her, but like that wasn't a problem for any of the times that I fought this boss. The breath, I was really expecting like to have to put out magic defenses, but she just picks a random person and starts breathing on them. It just kind of felt boring to me. So I'm impressed with the boss. It's very easy first boss. Nobody should really have that many problems with it. And overall, good introduction to the raid. The rest of the bosses, Ursoc is boring. It's fun as a tank because it's just a lot of damage and you gotta like respond to it. But overall, the mechanics of the fight are kind of boring. You just gotta kill him fast, and you generally are okay with the fight. Heart of Il'gynoth is probably my favorite fight, like overall, like as a raid, as an encounter. That I think is my favorite fight in the instance, because there's so much stuff to do, and I know it's an ad fight, but there's so many particular ads that you just got to pay attention to. You got to make sure that you're interrupting the Mind Flay ads. You got to make sure that you kill the Corruptor ads, because they're just going to spew stuff all over. But you got to like send a small group over there to deal with them, or you could just send everybody to deal with them. Do you leave the Nightmare Horror for last on the priority? But if he's smashing the tanks, you can't leave that on last priority, because they're going to run out of cooldowns. Or the healers are going to run out of mana. Like it's nice to pick apart and choose, like, okay, our group is good at this. I did a pug earlier, and this group was good at this, and this is how we responded. It's nice to pick apart and try and figure out what is good for your situation. And also tanking was kind of fun too. Dragons of Nightmare, I really like that fight. As a tank, it's kind of boring, except when you have to actually like switch the bosses. But it's a nice encounter because you get to learn and you get to actually feel like you're becoming a better tank. Like you're understanding the fight more. For instance, I would save my artifact ability as a druid. I would save it for when Terrar, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, when he does his shades and he spawns like 2 more of him. I would save my artifact ability so that when they do the corruption breath on me, I can help reflect that damage and kill them faster. And also it serves as a defensive cooldown, so instead of getting trucked or having to waste heals or call an external or whatever the case is, I already have my own cooldown for it, and it's very nice to know that by doing that, I further benefited the raid. I provided more damage, I provided more damage reduction, and it's really nice to know. Spider boss, I hate that boss. I hate that boss, I hate that boss, I hate that boss. Everything about it is dumb. I hate it. I really don't like that fight. Mainly because just the mechanics fight against you so much. And I know that that's how a boss encounter is supposed to be, but it just feels like everything that you do is not, like you're doing it wrong. That's how I felt when my guild was fighting it. Like, she would go up into the air and we'd run away, but because we're running away, all the spiders are spawning everywhere and it's hard to group them together. And then we have 2 reactive tanks. And so when we are like connected together, when we're linked, it just feels like overly tough. Like it's very damage intensive because he's fighting the spiders, or I'm fighting the spiders, and then we have to heal ourselves up, but then we don't have stuff ready. It feels wonky to me, and I don't like that particularly. And also I really hate that we have to transition from this platform to this platform, and I don't understand the point of the wings. Like, why do you pick up the wings and some people are able to fly over while other people have to run across? Like, are the spiders that? I mean, the spiders are, I guess are that big of a problem where you do have to squish them with the wings or whatnot? It just feels like a tacked on sort of mechanic just to add more fluff to the fight. I don't know. That is easily my least favorite fight. Cenarius is also a pretty like stupid fight in my opinion. For tanks, if you're tanking Cenarius, you put him in a corner where one of the trees are and you're good to go. Like, that's all you got to worry about. The other tank, he's going to get the ads, and then you just tank the ads. Like, nothing is really important. It just feels like there's a lot of damage, and that's why the fight might be hard for groups. I'm not a healer, like I said. I'm not a damage dealer, so I don't know specifically what they have to deal with. I just know what tanks have to deal with, and it's a very boring fight. It's a very like uninteresting fight to me. Xavius, on the other hand, wow, he has got a lot of stuff going on. As a tank, there's a lot of different ways to go about tanking him, and a lot of it also depends on how good your group is. So when you're in the dream, when you fall asleep, you don't really want to be tanking Xavius. As far as I understand, the boss who is in the dream doesn't want to tank Xavius in phase 1. They want to grab those horror ads or whatnot and tank them close by so that the melee and range can cleave and whatnot. But his mechanics are separate, so if you're in a dream, then you've got to deal with the ad. If you're not, then you got to deal with Xavius. In phase 2, there's a little more overlap because he does some empowerment thing, Xavius does, and like an empowerment thing, where the dream tank wants to tank him so that they doesn't receive any corruption, which is nice. But when you go to phase 2, you have to hit, I believe it's 60%, 60 or 65%, where he puts more people into the dream state. And by the time you get to phase 2, everybody should be out of the dream state. So your group has to really push the DPS in order to make sure that people fall asleep again. And it's just, if that's not happening, there's a lot of issues. Because phase 2 is very corruption intense. So you want to make sure that you have that mechanic down. But otherwise, like, everything's pretty good. As far as the tanks go, Guardian Druid, hands down, if you are a Guardian Druid and you're moderately geared, if you're 835 plus, I would say, normal is a cakewalk. Heroic is also fairly easy. Maybe a little bit more gear, a little bit more tank knowledge, but generally, like, the general way that you would play a Guardian Druid, like if you look at the quick and dirty video guide that I put out for Guardian Druid, if you just follow that to the absolute basics of just what I was talking about, you would mostly be fine. You respond to the boss mechanics as they come up, you pop your cooldowns as they're needed, and you just start to learn a little bit more how to play. And a Guardian Druid, if you have a problem, it's either the group is your problem, or maybe you actually screwed up somewhere. But generally, you should be fine on normal and heroic. So, if you're Guardian Druid, like, hey, good for you. Demon Hunter, though. Demon Hunter, definitely on normal, you shouldn't have a problem. On heroic, there's definitely some concerns for their survivability. I know I'm in the Vengeance Demon Hunter Discord channels, and there's a lot of people who have no trouble tanking these things. They've already killed Heroic Xavius first week, even the first day. Even some people are pretty progressed, and I didn't feel that powerful, honestly, on my Demon Hunter. That could be a stat issue. That could be a player issue. It's probably a bit of a player issue, but it's also just a bit of a knowledge problem, I guess, because my guild ran straight into heroics. We didn't even go into normal at first. We just went straight to heroic. And that was a problem because Nithendra wasn't a problem. But Ursoc, we weren't expecting the damage to be that high. And also the mechanics were coming so fast that we just didn't know how to respond right away. And that was similar to other bosses too. Like when we ended up switching to normal, we raid Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And when we stopped doing heroic on Tuesday and we went to normal on Wednesday and Thursday, we stomped through every boss. Like, we more or less one-shot everything except for Cenarius. Cenarius, I think, took 2 or 3 attempts, and then Xavius took 5, 6 attempts, maybe. And everything was fine. Like, unbelievably, like, easy. And that's good to hear, I guess. But also, like, it puts this sense of disbelief. Like, it was, you did too well of a job, I would say. And it's like, was I that good on normal, or was heroic just overtuned? Like it feels a bit weird, honestly, switching between the two. But on my Demon Hunter, I know that I need to practice more. I need to practice when to use demon spikes. I need to practice pain generation, like not generation, but more like pain management. Like, I might soul cleave here, but I could have soul cleaved 2 seconds later and done a lot more healing. Or I could have done a little bit more damage and killed an ad that was hitting me. Or Fiery Brand, if I'm using Fiery Brand on this target, did it die too quickly? Or was that the right target to brand? You know, these are all a bunch of questions that you can learn the more and more that you pull. And I like what I was mentioning earlier, I really like Dragons of Nightmare because of that. Like, you just actually can really feel like, okay, this is the right time to pop Fiery Brand. I've pulled it enough times. I know that at this point in the fight, I have problems. So I'm going to Fiery Brand right now. And like, you're just going to have to practice, I believe. Like, unless you're inherently good, like you just are really good at the class, or if you already have a lot of gear on your side, there's gonna be problems in heroic for sure. For that, all I can say is do more research on the class. Like, I have my quick and dirty guide right now, but that doesn't go over everything. I'm gonna have a more detailed guide soon, and that could probably help you. But also go into the Discord channels, just kind of read what they're talking about and pick up their tips, see like why people are going for certain stat priorities, this and that. Like, Demon Spikes does this, then this, there. Like, just a lot of knowledge needs to be put into the Demon Hunter because it's so new. And I really think that everybody more or less is going to be okay as a tank. Demon Hunters, though, like, some people are good at it. Some people have progressed perfectly fine. Other people, like me, have a little bit of struggles with it. But generally, everything is going to work itself out because it's only the first week. And because it's only the first week, that's what's going to happen. And that's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to have more videos out soon, especially the detailed tank guides. It's been a long time coming, I know. But just keep an eye out for it. So drop a like, leave a comment about how your guild progression has been going, how you have experienced tanking in the Emerald Nightmare. Has it been tough? Has it been easy? What class are you playing? And generally just facilitate discussion. That's what I really want to do with these sort of videos. I want to just kind of like talk, put my thoughts out, and I kind of want to just discuss with other people what the topic of the video was. So once again, everybody, I really appreciate that you guys spent the time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.